Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Light Council series. I am Elizabeth Planson, your host, and I am so excited to have Jennifer as my guest. If you are new to me, my work is all about activating other soul-led, heart visionary entrepreneurs, activating them in their soul purpose, their soul gifts, and helping them in their journey of bringing their work to the world. And also, I do lots of different types of healing modalities. But with this, bringing other entrepreneurs, other soul led visionaries, light workers, healers work to the world, that is what inspired this series for me to create it so I could help bring and highlight other light workers' work and bring you value at the same time, helping you awaken your inner light and elevating the world. So, without further ado, Jennifer, thank you so much for being here with us today. I would love for you to introduce yourself, tell us all about you, your work, and how you serve others.
I'm honored to be here. Just the connection that happens organically, right, to find each other. So thank you. Thank you for having me. I couldn't be more aligned with everything that you just said. So I am Jennifer Kupcho. My friends call me Jen. My clients call me Jen. So that's my familiarity with people. I am a spiritual mindset coach, mentor. I'm also an author, oracle card creator, and I was a teacher in the classroom for 27 years. Special education was my focus. My master's was in actually deaf education. So you see me sometimes trying to control my hands because they are bringing light in the way that they sometimes bring communication. 10 years ago, I started life coaching.
Mm.
And so I balanced both for quite some time. And I also am a person believing that I'm a bridge, as you are too, constantly, sometimes connecting other people where I don't need to be in there. You need this person, you need to be together. So that's also my purpose. I work primarily with women. I always said that that is my goal. That's where I'm comfortable. That's where I see the niche to change, right? That we have lived under false beliefs for so long that have been handed to us. No, no, nothing against the patriarchy, but we have bought into it and we too believe what we're telling ourselves. But I've also realized that lately, as of late, as I've taken on some male clients, that there's healing that needs to be done everywhere, right? And so,
Mm.
how can it just be one side? My focus is primarily women, but when I've suddenly seen men drip into my space and I'm working with them, I'm seeing it's equally as important. I have a son and I
Yeah.
have a daughter and a husband of 29 years, and there's healing that needs to be done everywhere, everywhere.
Yeah, I so agree with that. And you're right. It is more as we find this industry, the spiritual realm and light work has seemed to shifted more to the feminine energy and more females, right? But more and more men are also starting to catch on, which is beautiful and want to bring in that feminine energy. And so I think it is, yes, more women with me are attracted to me as well, right? But I think it's beautiful that you've opened your arms to those men as well, because yes, they do need help just as much as we do as females. So that's so, so beautiful. I would love to hear, what kind of led you to this purpose? Like, what was that first kind of inkling for you that you were like meant to do this work?
It's a great question. And in answering that, it's important to recognize I believe in breadcrumbs and I believe
Mhm.
that we don't see the fullness right from where we're standing. I've always received messages from angels from the time I was a little girl. I can remember thinking it was probably close to the end of the time where I stopped myself from receiving them. And I remember hearing that buzzing, if you've ever gotten that
Yeah.
ringing. And no one tells you this, right? But I remember thinking, and I know exactly where I was in my bedroom, I hear you, but I don't understand you. You have to say it differently. And I think back when I sometimes question myself, like, do I really? That no one just thinks that. No
Mhm.
one tells a child to think that. And so forever, I've been blessed to be in a space of spirituality. I was brought up in the Catholic religion, but somehow I always said from the time I was young, that I'm more spiritual than religious, like the
Yeah.
dogma of a religion. And I don't know where that even came from. You just know. Sometimes you just
Mhm.
have that knowing. And so it's always been with me. My faith has always been with me. And I would say, though, in the last 10 years where I've started this for sure. But even before that, here's the breadcrumbs. There was a point in my life where I needed to start going to Al-Anon. There was alcoholism in my family. And the beauty of something you don't expect, of sitting there, of having a faith-driven meeting, brought me back to
Yeah.
my original roots, right? So something that could be so negative, right? And so fearful, what's going to happen in my future now, brought faith back, brought
Mhm.
let God back, right? The belief system that I'd always had in place. And I remember people saying to me, "How can you stay so calm in certain things in school?" And at the time, it was actually Al-Anon that was keeping me that way because it was returning me to a faith-based life.
Yeah.
So sometimes the parts that cause us pain can also cause us great presence and joy in our life.
I love that so much. And it's interesting because I just did a training on this yesterday about soul purpose, right? And my story is very much about following the breadcrumbs. It was, when I first started to get this inkling, I was meant to do something else, a bigger work. I first developed my psychic abilities and then had the calling or the pull being like, there's a piece missing, right?
Mhm.
There's something else that's ready to come through. And then it was the mindset and manifestation work. And I became a master in that and certified in that. And then again, had that pull to expand and grow. And I think that's worth mentioning because, and now I find myself here where I am in the work I do. I think that's important to mention because some people, and I was definitely that way, with like, I want to know what my life's purpose is, right? What am I supposed to do? And they think it's just one answer, but it continues to grow and evolve as you do, which is so beautiful. And I love your story about how, the pain and, the challenges that you went through have actually helped you find your purpose, right? And that's another big thing with finding your soul's purpose is what have you been through? What have you experienced? What miracles have you experienced in your life, right? That have allowed you now to be able to help others in the same way, maybe. So,
Well, and you said 100%. I'm going to jump in there because
yeah.
you said it's probably hands down the question I get most from my clients, my one-on-one clients. I just want my purpose. I want to know what my purpose is.
Mhm.
And we tend to connect it to our job, right? I loved teaching. I loved it until it was time and shifted, right? I couldn't hold two jobs any longer and things changed. And the purpose always in the classroom for me, I would bring not out loud, but I would bring my angels in. I would bring my guides in before any student ever entered the room. You
Yeah.
know, it was always my purpose was connection and
Mm.
love and compassion and joy and learning, right? I was the teacher, but the student. And so, although it looked like I was a teacher in the classroom, there was always a greater purpose. It was
Yeah.
listening to that one kid that maybe one time in 10 months was heard and something they needed to say, right?
Yeah.
And so, yes, I mean, I can't say enough about that. I agree. The purpose is not about our job or our career.
Yeah.
It's about the life that we live here and to be, like you just said, miracle minded.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, 100%. And that's what I always like whenever I teach about soul purpose, that's the very first point I make is first and foremost, our purpose here on this world, my belief is to grow and expand and experience life in the fullest and be in love. So I love so much that you said that. And shifting gears a little bit, talking about miracles. I know that's like your favorite thing and like so important in your work. So, talk to me a little bit about that and how miracles have shown up in your life, and you bring that through in your work.
I love that. Thank you. That is
Yeah.
what lights me up. I have a women's group that's called the Miracle Minded Woman. And funny enough, that started when I was working for Beachbody, that exercise.
Yes.
And yeah, and so I was a Beachbody coach for a while and I started an online presence. But before I knew it, I was sharing really what was on my soul. And I left Beachbody after I had these women finding me and changed it to the miracle-minded woman. Because a miracle to me is simply a shift in perception. It is a
Mhm.
releasing of a burden. It is seeing with love's eyes and not being bypassing. That's such a thing. We have to be really careful in the spiritual world. Like, I'm really not going to be angry. I'm going to be fine, right? The body
Mhm.
keeps score. The body knows you are meant to feel
100%.
everything,
Yeah.
right? So it's not about pretending and being in a place of not recognizing what's going on, because my belief is that life happens for us and
Mhm.
that we are waiting always a challenge to choose light, to choose the miracle. How do you do that if you don't have a challenge, right? So
Mhm.
that's the purpose. So when I go to my coach, and I tell him what's going on in my life, he always goes, yes, especially if there's something that's going bad, he's like, yes. And I'm like, huh, right? But I believe it too, because it's the place, it's the GPS to go find the miracle that I forgot was there. So
Mhm.
for me, it is seeing life not with rose-colored glasses, but with truthful eyes, that everything is possible to see it as a miracle. And
Yeah.
so, since you asked me, I will tell you this most recent miracle that happened. So, after retreat, I have learned to take time. I just finished a women's retreat, and I used to rush back into life. And now I know I need to take it slow and integrate. And so, I was in Cape Cod. It was the day after with my assistant there. And I said, oh, you know what? Let's go visit this store that I love. I hadn't seen it for years. And she's like, okay, do you want something there? It was called the Sanctuary. I said, no, I don't think so, but I think we need to go. And she said,
Mhm.
okay. So we showed up, pulled in, and then there's this pottery store that I forgot was there. I'm like, oh my God, maybe that's why I'm supposed to come because I really wanted a new mug. Went in, bought a mug. She's like, are you happy? Do we need to go to the store? I'm like, no, we're supposed to still go. So we go in. She's like, do you need anything? I said, no. So we left, and I said we should hit the restroom before we were going walking for a while. She goes, "Oh, I know where it is. I went over there." I said, "All right." So we go over. I go up to the restroom. I come out. She's on the phone. I'm like, "Oh, I don't want to bother her." So there was a door open to a store, and I went in. I started walking around, and I remembered the store. I hadn't been to it for almost 10 years, and I started to get sad because the last time I had been in there, I was with my mom, who is going through the levels and stages of dementia, which there's miracles in that as well. But I got very teary-eyed as I'm walking through. And I wasn't paying attention. I came around a corner and a woman and I kind of almost bumped into each other. We both said, "Oh, I'm so sorry," at the same time. No, no, it's okay. Back and forth, a little conversation. And in the conversation, she said, "What are you doing here?" She said, "Do you like the store?" I don't know, some kind of small chit chat. I said, "Oh," I said, "I'm visiting. I just finished a retreat." And she said, "Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. I'd like to be part of this. Can we exchange information?" I said, "Sure." Now, I thought I was going to be maybe connecting in the sanctuary because this place used to sell my cards and was
Yeah.
really crystals. No, it wasn't the sanctuary, right? But we had to go through the breadcrumbs. And so, unbeknownst to me, she was the owner of the store because she went behind the counter. I was like, "Ooh, this is someone important, right?" So we're exchanging information. And I said, "I have to tell you, I love your store so much." I said, I started to get a little weepy. And I explained about, well, I said the last time I was in here was with my mother. She said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Did she pass?" I said, "No, she has dementia." And she reached across the counter and grabbed my hand. And we're just standing there looking at each other. And if I could put into words the warmth of her hand, it was like honey. And these two strangers were just staring at each other back and forth. And she said, 14 years with my mother. And so we just had this moment, and my friend had come back in and she said, "Oh, you should send her one of the passages from the new book that I'm writing about the miracles of dementia." And she said, "Isn't it miraculous?" And I looked at her and I said, "Yes," because many people don't see it that way.
Right.
She said, "At one point with my mother, I'd never met my grandmother. I'd
Mhm.
always wished I could. She died when I was very young." And
Mhm.
she said, one time my mother looked at me and she said, "Are you my mother?"
Oh.
She said I had a choice. I could have corrected her and fixed it and no, I'm your daughter. And she said, "Yes, yes, I am." And she said, in that moment, I got to meet my grandmother and be my grandmother and hold that space and hear stories from my mother because she believed that I was her mother.
Oh my goodness. I have chills right now. Like,
Right? Right?
so
And so I
powerful.
looked at her and I said, "Can I contact you to bring you into this book and interview?" And she said, "I'd be honored." So we
Oh.
exchanged information and I left on this just this miracle high, right? It
Mhm.
doesn't take away dementia, it doesn't take away the grief, it doesn't take away the pain, but it adds the level of connection when we live in a place of miracle mindedness to
Yeah,
connect with others who feel the same.
that's such a beautiful story. Thank you so much for sharing that. I
You're
mean,
welcome.
how it is again another story of following the breadcrumbs too, right? And following your intuition and just knowing that like something's telling you to go
100%.
here, do this or whatever, and I don't know what it is, right? But there is a reason for it, for who you're going to bump into or what opportunity it's going to present or just who you can touch that day, right? Emotionally or mentally or spiritually. So, I would love to know if you have any tips or advice or, protocols that maybe you can offer the audience, the listeners, for when they're dealing with a situation like, a parent being sick or, something, a child, suffering or just anything that's really challenging that they're going through, like how to find the miracles or how to, become aware of what you're feeling and not just stuff it down. You know what I'm saying? Like just
100%.
anything that
Yes,
can help them through those difficult times.
absolutely. That's a great question. And it's so incredibly simple that you almost feel like it's not possible.
Mm.
The messages I receive daily in my writings and channeling is one, to be still. We
Mhm.
cannot hear in the chaos and the cacophony that's going on around us, the fears that are being set in. There's always two choices. It's really, really comes down to two choices, love or fear. And we live most of the time in a state of fear, expectation, what's going to happen. Oh my gosh, right? We create a plethora of scenarios of what's going to happen, none of which is the now. And so if there's one thing I can say is to live more in the now. And you
Mhm.
can do that at any moment. There's so many things in psychology, right? Where you, at that moment, use your five senses, right? There's a
Yeah.
name for it. I don't remember what it is, but you literally, at that very moment, what do I see? What do I smell? What do I taste? What do I feel? Like the ground beneath your feet, the sweat, my shirt as it's moving, I can feel that moving. My bracelet that's moving, right? It brings you
Yeah.
into the now because we tend to jump forward about the catastrophe that might happen, and none of which is true because we're only
Mhm.
living in the now and the now and the now. So, an exercise as simple as that,
Mhm.
getting grounded in the now. What do I see? If I'm in the car and my mind starts racing about my fears of health or something, or my mother, or what's happening, if
Yeah.
I'm driving, I start calling out in the car, stop sign, mailbox. I literally start calling out what I'm seeing in the now.
Yeah.
And it brings me more back to basics. Of course, there's breath. Take three deep
Mhm.
breaths, right? There's breath is the answer to everything.
Mhm.
Nothing crazy, just breathing. We start
Mhm.
shallow breathing, right? But if we can get that deep breath and slow our mind down. But
Yeah.
honestly, being in the now is the first step. And using your five senses of everything, the carpet that's under my feet right now, you that I'm seeing, your beautiful picture behind you, getting into that now will
Yeah.
stop you from chasing the demons out there.
I love that so much. And because not only is it like bringing you back into the present moment, but it's changing the trajectory of what your mind is doing, the monkey
Yes.
mind, right? Like it's stopping the spiral because now you've changed the
Yes.
subjects. And it reminds me, and it's sort of like this. So I took a certification or a class about it's called positive intelligence, and it's the kind of the same thing but there's different they call them PQ reps, right? Where you can in the moment if you're feeling anxious or overwhelmed, you can close your eyes and take a moment and feel the grooves in your fingers for like a
Mhm.
minute and then you can feel the grooves in your hands, right? Or
Yes.
you can practice listening, what are the things that you hear really close to you, right? Or what are the things that now you can hear the furthest away that you can hear? What's the furthest sound away? Now listen to
Beautiful.
all of it. So all of those ways are so right is bringing you back into the present moment, which
Yeah.
is so beautiful. So I love that so much. I also love how you said about earlier, feeling those emotions and allowing yourself to feel them and we don't bypass them, right? And I don't know if this was during our pre-conversation or during this time, But I think it's so important to point out because obviously, as a healer, we know if we don't allow ourselves to feel the emotions that our body is asking us to feel or our mind is asking us to feel, we end up just suppressing them and putting them and storing them in our body, which
And dis-ease.
into disease, which eventually manifests into disease, like literally disease or other things. So, I think that's so another important point is allowing yourself to feel those emotions. So, do you have any tips of how to help people do that in the moment and be okay with that?
I think the first thing, and I love that question, is to recognize that we're so conditioned to compartmentalize, right? This
Mhm.
feeling is good and this feeling is bad. Especially as spiritual people, we love the joy, we love the light, we love the happiness, right?
Right.
So those are all good, but then these are all bad, right? We shouldn't be angry. I shouldn't feel resentful. Like, so we categorize, and that's why I don't like labels, but I call myself a spiritual mindset coach because
Hmm.
it's working with the mind that really is that monkey mind that controls, right? It's not one or the other, it's bringing them back together and to recognize that there's no good and bad. They're
Hmm.
just neutral. So if you can begin before you even go into the spiral, whatever's happening, to recognize that feelings were meant to be felt, period. They're called
Yes.
feelings. They're not good feelings and bad feelings, and you're ahead of it and you're behind it. The pain of my mother's dementia, right? That heaviness on my heart called me back to, but where are the miracles in this? Because I know that. I know what I know. So it can't just be one thing, which has
Hmm.
led me into seeing her in meditation, receiving beautiful messages that this is her time of surrender. She's been in control her whole life.
Yeah.
And that when I saw that, it was about 5 years ago, it was a beautiful recognition to honor her, right? So
Hmm.
that my pain is okay. My
Hmm.
pain means love. So it's a rewriting of our beliefs about our feelings. Honestly, that's the beginning of it. That pain is not something to shun. In fact,
Yeah.
if we lean into it, we can lean through it. What does it have for me? What's the great love I have in this pain? Or anger, right? Passionate anger, right? The sacredness of rage. As
Hmm.
women, we have been taught to stuff, and that's not nice. Well, we get the words, right? You're crazy, you're out of control, look at
Yeah.
her, right?
Yeah.
And then without realizing it, we've internalized that and then look at someone else, another female. So we're part of that shift to recognize that rage, that sacred rage can lead to motion, to movement,
Hmm.
to changing policies, whatever it might be. There's a beauty in all the emotions. So that's where it really starts is to recognize and start thinking, like not
Yeah.
when we're in the midst of it, but we're in a calm place. What are my thoughts? I love to say, what if?
Mm, yeah.
What if anger is not bad? What if sadness can help me, right? I love, so to give one thing, here's that's it. It's what if.
Yeah.
Start thinking that and then giving the ability to change how you think.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. And I love how you said too that we've been taught to not be angry. And even as kids, we tell them, don't cry,
Yeah.
like it's okay. And so as a mother with young kids, I'm really trying to, allow them, it's okay to cry, let it out, right? And I don't know about you, but when I had a mentor one time and I was frustrated, I was angry, and she told me to go scream in a pillow. And it was so hard.
Right? Again, still stuffing it.
I couldn't like get it out. It felt so silly. It felt like I couldn't even do it. And until finally, right, I just allowed myself to release. But it's so funny you recognize that conditioning that we've been through, that we can't even express ourselves fully because
Yeah.
of the conditioning. So really just trying to start allowing yourself to feel it in the moment. And that's how we work through it and work and go through those emotions rather than suppressing them, right?
Well, and think about it, what you just said, how hard it was. And the reason I was like, oh my gosh, I love that you just said that. One of the reasons why it was so hard is because here she is telling you to express yourself, but express it stuffed,
That's very true too, right?
right? So we're in this, okay, how do I really, this doesn't feel right because I'm really not letting it out. You can let
Mhm.
it out, but make sure it's quiet.
Right, no one can hear you,
No
right?
one can hear you.
So no one in your
So
house thinks you're crazy.
yes, right? So that is interesting even in that, in how
Yeah.
we've been taught to heal still isn't a way of appropriateness.
Yes, I love that so much.
Right?
So thank you for that reminder. When the next time I need to scream, do not use a pillow,
Yeah.
just let it all out.
Yeah.
So thank you. I have another question for you about miracles. So what are your thoughts about when people ask for miracles or call upon miracles or like,
Mm.
you know what I'm saying? Like, is that a thing? Is that real? Does it work? Let me hear what your thoughts are on
Uh,
that.
well, 100%, because when we realize that we are the miracle,
Mm-hmm.
it's not something coming from outside, right? So whenever I sit down and I ask for something or say a prayer, or at the beginning of every one of my writings, I ask for what is of my highest good.
Mm-hmm.
Because the miracle is not what I set it to be. We are so limited in what we ask for. And many times the miracles we ask for are out of fear.
Mm-hmm.
So we're asking for someone to be healed because we fear losing them.
Mm-hmm.
We don't recognize what their sole purpose was. We don't know if they're finished, right? It's that contractive, please don't let them, right? This
Yeah.
is what I couldn't live without them. Right? That's one of the biggest fears, right? When someone's sick and they may not stay long on this earth, right? They need to go.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we ask for a miracle, the problem sometimes lies in that we ask for it in the way that we see fit.
Mm-hmm.
So if we ask for the miracle to happen that will benefit our highest good and trust in faith what that is, then it will always be answered.
I love that so much. So literally it's just asking, and you can, are you saying you can ask this like every night or every day, spirit, God,
Absolutely.
universe, source, whatever you resonate with,
Yes.
please send me the miracle in my
Yes.
life that's going to be for my highest good
Yeah. I have chills right now
in,
as you
in
said
my
it. A
journey or
hundred
however you
percent.
want to word it, but something like that.
Yeah. No, I had chills as you said it. I was like resonance of that
Yeah.
bliss bumps, right?
Yeah.
That's
And thank you,
exactly it.
right? And thank you.
Yes.
And
And
it
thank
is
you.
so,
Yes.
right?
And actually, in saying that, I usually ask for it in a thank you.
Thank you for sending me the
Yes,
miracle
because
for
we
my
believe
highest
it,
good.
right? Someone's
Yeah.
handing, we say thank you. So we're ready and more willing to receive.
Yeah.
So thank you for sending me. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. So, I would love, we talked before this call about you had a channeled message. You're someone that channels every single day. And so I would love for you, if you're open to sharing the message that you channeled today.
Well, this one actually, because I always ask again, not my thoughts, right? What is the
Yeah.
highest? So this one was October 14th.
Oh, beautiful.
And I flipped through and I said, what do we need to know?
Yeah.
Let me be the vessel. What do we need to know? So I would love to share with you.
Yeah.
The future, dear one, is not your concern. It seems to be the focus of your community. Lack, fear, control, prediction. You all want answers. You wish to know the correct path, the one without pain or strife. Tell me my future, but only what is good and what does not compel me to run and hide. Control. You believe you have control over future events. You spend so much time in fear over what if. But what if you begin to live in the now? What if all works out? It always will. We tell you it always will. The issue is not in it all working out. The problem lies in you believing you have the master plan in which it all works out according to you. We love you dearly, but we do not answer to you. Although we were created by love and hold the divine light of God within you, and you can replace universe, Mother Gaia, whatever's good, you did not come to your lifetime to orchestrate all of humanity. We hear you too much, all of humanity. Very cheeky with me sometimes.
Hmm.
We know your thoughts. You would never take control over all. But isn't the part you are trying to control doing the same as all? There is no difference. Fighting for control of any part is the same as fighting for control over all. You try to change the meaning by changing your language, but you forget all was created for you, all your languages, all your meanings. You cannot pull the wool over his eyes. Surrender. It is what is being asked of you. It is both the most simple and basic of all actions, yet the one that gives you the most difficulty. Allow, open, breathe, fall inward. Get to know who you are. You are marvelous, my sweet one. You have nothing in common with your body. Nothing. You are not your body. You are not your eyes. You are not your ears. You are not your smile. If all was taken from you tomorrow, you would still be you. The you were created to be has no form the naked eye can see. Your ego has forced its presence upon your life of the truth. Your age is not your spirit. Your gender is not your spirit. Your physical form is not your spirit. When you believe any part you can see with light, your truth, then you have forgotten. We wish for you to remember. The actual truth is you have chosen to remember. So you have called us in to be the bridge back to truth. You knew it all along. That's why you are not surprised by what you are receiving. It feels almost unimportant, insignificant, mundane, by all standards forgettable. But this is the reverse. Let it be the inside out of your remembering. Welcome home, sweet child. Welcome home.
Wow, that's so beautiful. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to this again after and re-listen to it because there was so much in there, like so many beautiful messages. And if you like could sum that up in like one sentence, what would be the one big takeaway you would like to leave with the listeners from that?
Surrender. That
Sorry.
we are not the thoughts that we think. We are
Hmm.
so much more. And the power comes in surrendering.
I love that so much. Thank you for sharing. Oh, this was such a beautiful conversation,
It
and you've
was.
given
Thank you.
us so much value. I would love for you to share where people can find you or how people can work with you and reach out to you.
I'd love that. I currently have a sale right now we are on 1 year anniversary in November. I created a group called the Sacred Emergence where people could be around other people who think this way, who feel this way, like to be magnetic. So if you go to my website, which is jenkupcho.com, you'll find everything. You'll find my free groups, you'll find free all kinds of resources. And then this particular course is on, it's crazy. It's monthly. I say I'm crazy. My business coach says I'm crazy. It's 33 a month. So $33.33. And in that you get courses and meditations and playlists and connections. So we meet live. And I'd love for you to come meet us there.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And I'll drop all the links, of course, in the description as well. Thank you again for being here with us today. And thank you all to the listeners. We are sending you so much love and so much light. Until next time.